Hello, besties and bosses. How are you doing? Let me pull this up in the group. I almost thought about not going live today since it is the day before Thanksgiving here in the US for those of you who celebrate. I know many of you also don't celebrate outside of the US, but also in the US. But the conversation I wanted to have today is one I've been wanting to have anyway. I think it's quite an important conversation when it comes to what allows you to get results in business and to not only feel abundant, but to create more financial success and to book more clients and to sustain and scale your business. But it also is really timely with the Thanksgiving holiday. So I thought it would be a good conversation to have today. So hopefully you'll be able to join me live and on the replay. I'm hoping you'll also find value in this. So yes, it makes sense with Thanksgiving, but if you're catching this on the replay, I don't want you to think this is only a Thanksgiving conversation. If you are live, say hello. I would love to know who's here. And again, if you're watching the replay, always love to know you're here as well. Feel free to drop your questions. So actually, before I dive in, I always forget my announcements. My brain is also a little like coming back to focus here because my mom is going to be here in about like an hour after our live stream. So I've client calls today and I've just been getting excited and ready for her to come for the holiday. She's spending the weekend with us. So 2 announcements. One, I do not have a Black Friday offer for you. We don't, with my one-on-one coaching, we don't have a Black Friday offer. I do have a $99 sales course, which we'll put out, but it's always been $99. It's a 6-week sales course, walks you through everything from the mindset to strategy of building out a sales process. So that's always available on my website, but we will drop that for you. I do have, my birthday is on Saturday. I do, just to let the cat out of the bag, I always like to do a session giveaway on my birthday. I sometimes do more. I don't have a lot of capacity right now, so I'm going to give myself the birthday gift to get to meet one of you and support one of you. We will have a birthday session giveaway. I'm giving away 1 session. Maybe I'll give away 2, but I really have to check my calendar on that. But we're definitely giving away 1 session. There will be a post dropped on Saturday, and I think we're leaving it open until Wednesday. You just have to comment. It's pretty simple to enter. You just have to comment to let me know a few things to be entered for that. So keep your eyes out. That will be dropping on Saturday, and the contest. It's not really a contest. The giveaway will be open for a few days if you are interested in winning that. The other thing, I will let you all know, I am currently meeting with potential clients for spots I have opening up. I have limited availability open up. Have spots open up, but I usually only have intensives or spots opening up in the future. We do have a couple coming up. So I am actively taking consultations. So I will drop a free coaching consultation link for you if you've been curious about what it would look like to work together, if you're really interested in business coaching, to whether you're brand new to business and you're growing and you need to build that foundation and get really clear on exactly what to focus on to start to bring in consistent clients and sales and to set yourself up for that first sale ever, but also those first consistent 5 to 10K months. Or you're kind of at that place where you're bringing in reoccurring revenue, but you're really either looking to make it more consistent, right? You're having those highs and lows. You're having maybe a 10K month and then a 5K month, and you want to make that consistent, or you're really ready to scale and ramp that up to the 250K mark or above. I love meeting clients at everywhere, like at each of those stages. I'm really skilled at business overall and the mindset component to help you think like a CEO along with that strategy side. So I would love to connect with you if you've been thinking about that. I will drop a link for a free coaching consultation. Full transparency, I've had a couple of calls and I do think a few of the availabilities will be taken, but we will book into, I believe I still have a spot open at least in January. So we will be booking into that. And then I probably will go back on a wait list pretty soon, or, for spots moving out. So even if you're sort of like, I'm not sure, but you've been thinking about it, now's a really great time because we do actively have some spots that are becoming available, and I would love to connect with you. I think those are all my announcements. Okay, let's talk about the 30-day experience that changed everything for me in business. And look, I'm going to preface, I think I put this in the post for the live stream. I would never say there's one thing that created results for me in business. I've been in business for over 8.5 years. I've been coaching for over 10.5 years. So next March will be 9 years in business. I think 11 years, about that time, 11 years coaching. And so for me to say one experiment is the reason I've made almost 1.6 million in the last 5.5 years, or that I've been fully booked for, 5.5, 6 years now, or that I've make 25 to 40K cash months would be so asinine and ludicrous and not true. So let's just put that out there. And when I look back over my journey, I can see a couple of pivotal moments that really made a big difference where I can see, oh, isn't it interesting? I think this was about 7 years ago when I did this experiment. I was following pretty much the same strategy I have today. Obviously, I've refined and done a couple of other things, but I was following a very similar strategy, and there was a really big leap. There was a really big thing that shifted for me. And I can usually tie it back to either a strategy shift I made, like a refinement, or oftentimes it's an internal mindset shift I made. I can really tie that back to like, oh, isn't that interesting? I went from kind of clients here and there to my first 10K month and then a 24K cash month and these big jumps. So the 30-day experiment I'm going to talk about today, it is not everything. However, it really was a huge catalyst for me internally, mindset-wise, energetically. I was actually just talking about this with a potential client. We were talking about how important the strategy is, but how your mindset and your energy, and not in a hokey way, not in a you need to be high vibe all the time way, but that if anybody's read Letting Go by David Hawkins talks about I think it's David Hawkins talks about this, just this idea that just assume people can kind of pick up on your energy, that we can kind of, so mindful of how I want to say this, we cannot read one another's minds. I always say with sales, I come in with the mindset of I don't know shit, and that I really want someone to tell me, and I don't want to make assumptions, right? We know making assumptions makes an ass out of you and me, and we can feel one another as humans, right? We are highly intuitive, highly sensing humans, and so while we cannot mind read, and if I try to mind read my husband, he's going to tell me I'm wrong all of the time, right? And we're always projecting through our own lenses, and there's a whole lot there. We are very sensing humans, and we can pick up on one another's energy. And so when we have a mindset and our mindset affects our energetic field, right? Our mindset, how we're thinking about things, is not only going to direct the direction of our thoughts, which is going to direct our decisions and our actions and our results. I mean, this is kind of mindset 101, coaching 101. I think we've all heard that before, right? What I think is going to really influence what I notice, what I perceive, what opportunities I see, what I am willing to take action on, how I take that action, and then that result I get is going to reinforce my mindset. I think we've all heard this concept before. But also what I'm thinking is going to impact my feelings, my energetic field, just like my energetic field will probably impact my thoughts, right? They impact one another quite dramatically. And whatever it is I'm feeling about how good or not good enough I am, how abundant or not abundant I am, how desperate or not desperate I am, how much I believe in my offer or don't believe in my offer, right? All of that is going to affect my energy. And so when people are talking about energy, I think it gets really misconstrued in our space, and we hear a lot about being a high vibe, and we think we have to be like toxically positive, and I think it has created a lot of issues. But I think really what's at the core of it, and I think why it's not all, like there's a lot of truth to it, is that it is really tough to sell out your business, your practice, your group program, your mastermind, and to hold a large group of humans and to continue to sustain results and continue to sustain success and continue to show up visible, to get visible and to create big results if we are thinking real crap thoughts and we have an energetic output that is shut off or closed off or doesn't want to let people in, or actually is just really wanting to take something from people because we don't feel good enough or we're in scarcity. It's just a really tough place to operate from, because again, even if people can't read our minds, people can kind of read our energy, right? We all know what that's like when we've gotten on a call with someone, we've joined someone's podcast, we've seen a thing in a post in a feed, we've seen a sales post, and it's like everything is technically correct. And we're like, something smells fishy, something feels off, something feels weird, right? We get those spidey senses. That's often because we are picking up on what someone is putting out, not just what they are saying, but what they are putting out. So I want to make sure I don't digress too far down, because I want to go to the experiment and what I want to share. But I think that's just helpful to set as a preface. And so there are certain times in my business I can look back to like, oh my gosh, there's this really clear strategy. I have a live stream in, I think, 2 weeks where I'm going to talk about the strategy that has made me more money this year than anything else, and probably in the past 2 years than anything else. And I'm going to break that down, right? Sometimes it is a strategy piece. And even that strategy I'm going to share with you in 2 weeks, I think it's our live in 2 weeks, or when I think about, we just did a masterclass, the Consistent Client System, right? We talked about customer journeys and how to build those out in a really strategic way. What makes all of that work is your mindset and your energy. That is the rocket fuel. The reason two people can do very, very similar things and get very different results, it tends to come down to, of course, skill set, where you're at in your journey and learning curve and all of that. But it also tends to come down to our mindset and the way in which we are taking action, right? I always say action is not created equal. It's also how we are taking action. So hopefully that difference makes sense. And so when I look at some of these big shifts in my business and I see, oh, yes, maybe I made a strategy shift, or oh, I didn't even make a strategy shift, what was behind it? It is often a very big mindset or energetic shift. And not to say that energy and mindset is everything, but that has shifted the way in which I show up to do everything. And whoever just joined live, hey, hopefully this will make sense kind of jumping in here. Feel free to say hi and let me know if you have any questions. So about 7 years ago, the place I was at is I had a very solid strategy. I was very good at coaching. I already helped someone scale to $1 million. I was good at what I did. I had a strategy that was working and bringing in clients, but I was in a place of scarcity is the best way to describe it. Scarcity and feeling not good enough. And so I had a handful of clients. I was working a 9 to 5, and I was at the place where it was like I was making just enough to scrape by, and every dollar was accounted for. I was also working an extra, I worked at a bar job so that I could also pay for my coach, right? So I was investing, kind of everything I made was getting invested back into the business. And every time I would book a client, I would want to celebrate. And so at the time, one of the things I would do, and this sounds almost, I feel like maybe this sounds like a pathetic celebration, but like this is just like the means I had at the time, because again, I live in New York City. I was, I was pouring everything back into coaching, into my business. So it's not like I had a lot of extra money. And so at the time, hey Bethany, nice to see you. She says, need to hear this to help me get out of scarcity. Oh, good. I'm really hoping this one will land for you. Also just wanting to see you in that. And I'll just say for everybody who's feeling scarcity, what I've really found, I don't want to lose my story, but I just want to touch on this because Bethany, you just made me think of this. What I have really found supporting clients at every stage of business is scarcity is not about how much money we have. Scarcity shows up even when you're making $1 million. And so sometimes that's helpful when we're feeling that, because I think sometimes we try to solve it with like money mindset and doing a bunch of things around money, and it is almost always about something else. And I find that to be, it's usually a safety thing I find for most of us. So I find that to be just a helpful reminder. So I'm at this place, and so anytime I would book a client, kind of go back to our story here, what I would do as a celebration, my now husband was my boyfriend then. I'd be like, let's go, one of my favorite things to do is to go to a nice coffee shop. So we would go to a nice coffee shop, and I would want to treat him to coffee. And I still remember this one point where I had like booked a couple of clients, and I was like, okay, we're gonna go splurge and get these, like, because coffee in New York City, you can buy it's very easy to drop $15-20 on coffee in New York City. So we go to get 2 coffees, and those little vegan date balls, they're like little chocolate date balls. They're like a nothing treat. But I was like, I'm gonna get us 2 of those. And so it felt super, again, this is like this stage of my business. This felt very like, I'm gonna treat, I'm gonna drop $20, which at the time was just like extra that I had. And so I just very, very distinctly remember taking my husband out, my then boyfriend, buying these 2 cups of coffee, these 2 date balls, feeling so abundant and just so like, I'm making it, I'm in New York City, I'm booking clients, like I've got this overflow. And I kid you not, this sounds so dramatic, within 10 minutes after that, having a meltdown on the street in New York City, because I had just spent pretty much in my mind, my last $20. And we are not going to unpack this all here. Bethany said 100% true. What I know now about what comes up for me for scarcity and what comes up for me around money has very little to do with money and a lot to do with past trauma and a lot to do with safety. And I think for a lot of us, right, control, there's a lot in there for us when we're feeling scarcity. But at that time, I just remember I'm on the streets in New York City. My poor boyfriend is like, I thought we were celebrating. And I'm literally having a meltdown because I feel like the bottom is just going to fall out. So I share this story just to preface this experiment, where it came from and kind of the other side to it, but also just to, if anybody's there, just to see you in that and just to help you also see clearly the bottom was not going to fall out. I was supporting myself in New York City. I was booking clients. I was making money. I wasn't making the money I am today, but I was probably making around $5,000 to $6,000 per month, which isn't nothing because I also had a 9 to 5 and I would pay the bills. I was doing okay. Yes, now I make far more money, but it's not like it. I think it's just so important to see also like where the disconnect was there for me, and yet it felt in my nervous system like, fuck, everything is going, like I'm just effed over essentially what was probably $15 to $20. And I think this is, again, just so important to highlight, because when you're in that place, it isn't always rational, right? It's usually not about the money, but it feels really real in our system. And so at that time I was like, okay, well, something's got to change, because I know a couple of things to be true. For those of you who don't know my story, I spent 10 years acting before I started my business, before I went through coach training. I have a background, I studied psychology in school, then went off to do the acting thing, and then kind of returned to psychology. I worked in advertising. It all makes sense when you connect the dots looking backwards. But I spent 10 years acting, and one of the things I learned acting more than anything, I remember I had an acting coach who always used to tell us, casting directors can smell desperation from a mile away. And what that coach meant was it didn't matter how talented you were. It didn't matter how much you rehearsed your audition. It didn't matter what you looked like. It didn't matter how much you nailed an audition. If you walked into an audition desperate for a job, which most actors are really desperate and needy, right? They desperately want approval and they desperately want to book a job. If you walk into an audition that way, casting directors can smell it from a mile away, and it stinks. And no one wants to hire a desperate actor for a multitude of reasons, but it's also just not going to be a really helpful or healthy or productive dynamic to have on set. And the quickest way to not get hired is to be great at what you do and super desperate and to bring that energy into an audition room. So I knew when I'm sitting here having my meltdown and I'm thinking about what I want to do in business and how I want to grow my business and how I want to support people, I knew rationally that if I'm feeling this scarcity and I'm feeling super desperate, because in my mind, even though I was fine, maybe not making as much as I am now, but I was fine. Even if I knew that if I was thinking I'm not okay and I need to make more money, and things aren't okay, and I'm desperate to book clients, that is an energy, kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of this live stream, that is an energy that is going to repel faster than anything else. It does not matter how good I am as a coach. It doesn't matter that I've helped a client already scale to $1 million. It doesn't matter that I have a great strategy. If I'm coming in with needy, desperate, scarcity energy, I'm essentially going to be doing, I don't know if you've ever heard the term client hunting, but I will feel like I'm hunting for clients. And I mean, come on, even that term is gross. Nothing is going to push people away. The more I try to chase, the more we see this in dating, right? If you've ever been chased by someone that's desperate, not chased by someone who's really confident and going to be okay even if you don't like them in that really kind of sexy way, in that pursuant way, but in that way of you're being chased by someone who's just so desperate and needy that they just want to be loved and they'll almost take anything and anyone. You know how much of a repellent that is. I knew that, but I also knew, I believe in mindset work. I understand all of this. I also knew there's no way I could just walk around saying I'm abundant, I have enough money, I'm grateful. I knew there's only so much of that I could do to get me to a place where I didn't feel this scarcity and lack. Now, again, lots of full disclosure here. I would never say it's one thing. I've obviously also have my own coach. I've gone through therapy. There's a lot of layers to all of this. But at that time, I realized I really wanted to do something drastic to help shift this, because I wanted to have a different energetic output and a different way that I was going to show up for my business and to even think about money. I also knew really I was going to create my own ceiling if I didn't, because generally speaking, what we think the most, our predominant thoughts, and what we put out the most tends to be what we get back, right? We get what we focus on the most, not what we want the most. So if we're focusing on I don't have enough, if we're focusing on people aren't paying me, if we're focusing on I'm broke more than anything else, that is what we will get reflected back to us and have come back, even if we want more money, right? If we're coming from that lack place, we get what we focus on the most. That's what we'll notice. That's what we'll take action towards. That's what we will manifest, both energetically but also practically, attracts like. Or you will be like clients I've hired who are making, clients who have hired me who are making $500,000, $1 million, and the pattern will follow you. How you create it is how you sustain it, and so you will make a lot of money and still feel this pressure and scarcity, or feel like you're always running out of money every month even though you're making a lot, because again, how we create it is how we sustain it. And I knew that, and so I both knew that I wanted to scale my business, but I also knew that that energy I was using was either going to repel clients away, or it was going to have me make a lot of money where I either felt like absolute dog shit all the time, in scarcity, worried that the bottom was going to fall out, or that I would create situations where that would happen. And this isn't to freak anyone out, but I've just seen how this happens. And I've seen over the years with stuff I've had to heal, patterns of this where, we'll make a lot of money, but we will, have clients default on payments, have a big bill come in. We'll have situations occur to make that go away. And I didn't want that for myself. And so I really was in this place where I need to do something a bit more drastic to help to shift this point of focus for me in the way I was feeling. And so I don't know where I got this idea. I feel like I read a book. I need a sip of water. I feel like I read a book where someone did something like this, a nonfiction book. I'm not exactly sure. I wish I could give credit to where credit was due, but I don't know where I got this idea from. But I was like, you know what? I'm feeling super scarce and I'm feeling like I don't have enough. And I know gratitude. I know being of service. I know giving. Like that is actually that can only be done when you're feeling super abundant. So I'm going to try a 30-day experiment. And I'm going to try to look for one person every day in New York City that I'm going to give something to. And I really want to practice doing this from a place of I have enough, from a place of giving, like I want to give, not from a place of I have to, or I'm trying to like hack the universe. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm not going to expect anything in return. More than anything, I'm doing this more just to help myself see that I actually have something to give, and that I have more than enough. And so that's what I did. And so for 30 days, like I would do things like, okay, I'm at my 9 to 5. I'm going to grab lunch. Who's the person behind me in line? Can I offer to buy their coffee? Can I offer to buy them a cookie? And it was really fascinating. I've found it's really tricky sometimes to give people things. People are like really reluctant or like taken aback, and it's really fascinating to watch other humans and how they are at receiving, whether it's a compliment or a gift or something. It was just really, really fascinating. I mean, I guess especially from a stranger. So sometimes I really had to like think about what would this be. And sometimes it wasn't always money. Sometimes it was free, right? This is about the time I was starting to give away free coaching sessions. But even that, I really started to think about those in a different way. Where it's like, how can I find someone I can coach for free without expecting anything in return, as opposed to, I'd say probably a month before, I was thinking, how can I find someone who wants a free coaching session so that they will hire me? And now look, of course, all of us are in business, and I really want to be mindful here. As business owners, it is not wrong or bad to want money. I think it is actually really important. That is what keeps our businesses healthy. We are of service to get something in return, right? It is a give and take. I think we talked about this in last week's masterclass, where we talked about Adam Grant, and we talked about the idea of give and take versus being a giver or a taker extremely. And so I really want to be mindful with what I'm explaining here. So important. This was an experiment. As a business owner, I think we do want to look at how can we give something without expecting something in return, but also with a strategy where we do expect something in return, and that our businesses are built to be monetized. So hopefully that, let me know if that doesn't make sense. But so I did this for 30 days. And again, sometimes I gave something away for free, something I gave away money. And here is what happened. And this is why this changed everything for me. What I started to realize very quickly, one of the biggest things that started to shift for me, as I started to realize, oh, fascinating. I actually have enough to get, like, I can buy someone a coffee and I still have something left over. I'm actually not. The bottom actually isn't falling out. Oh, when I give something from a place of joy, it actually feels really good, and I tend to get even more back, like tenfold. Oh, when I offer to do something nice for someone from a really genuine, sincere place, and from a place of abundance and overflow, it is like people can't help but want to give me back even more than this. Things started showing up for me in really interesting ways, but I also, more than anything, I started to see, isn't this interesting? I already have so much that I don't even want to say I was taking it for granted. I don't think I was taking it for granted. I think I was just in such fear and I didn't feel safe. All these different reasons. But it really helped me to start to see how much I already had, and to create an entirely different relationship with gratitude. I think sometimes when we think about gratitude, and this is why it's like perfect with Thanksgiving, look, we all know gratitude is one of the most powerful practices. There's like study after study in terms of how it helps rewire your brain. If you're into manifesting, it is one of those tools that raises your frequency, right? That helps you to manifest more. It is one of the most proven ways to boost happiness, to decrease depression, to increase sales, improve your health. Like the laundry list of what gratitude can do is really fascinating. I think it can even affect your blood pressure. And don't quote me on that, but there's quite a lot of very proven benefits to gratitude. And I think gratitude is a little hokey sounding for most of us. We're like, okay, I'm going to gratitude my way to a multi-6-figure, 7-figure business. Seems a little, I think, just kind of wackadoo to all of us. I also think what happens with gratitude is a lot of times we're like trying to hack the system. And so we think of gratitude as like it's only the big obvious things. Or we just kind of like phone it in. Right? We're just like, it's like checking it off a checklist. Like, yes, I'm grateful for these things. What I found this experiment helped me to do is it really helped me to start to drop in and see just how much I have. It's really tough to feel scarcity when you're giving something to someone every single day, especially, because I was like giving this to strangers. It also just helped me to really see, like, I'm like, wow, I have paying clients who are giving me money. Wow, I live in New York City. I have a home. Like, oh my gosh, I'm able to buy groceries. Like it helped me to drop into some of the smaller things, or even some of the things that maybe were annoying to me, like the subway and like traffic, like, oh wait, I might swipe someone going through. I was just like, oh my gosh, I have the abundance to, and like I live in a city where there's public transportation. It just helped me to start to see and drop into gratitude in a different way, and in a way that felt true, honest, sincere, right, as opposed to checking it off a checklist. And I think that was and I'll explain how this changed things in terms of marketing and sales, just to give you some tangibles. But I just want you to see, like, because I think, again, when we hear tools like gratitude, it's so simple and it's so powerful. Usually the most powerful things are simple, but oftentimes it's either we're not doing it or we're missing a nuance, right? We're just like scratching it off a to-do list, or just kind of phoning it in. And I just really saw how actually dropping into that and dropping into gratitude for the things that I had so much abundance, right? Like when I could see, oh my gosh, I have so much. And part of the reason I'm feeling lack is I don't feel safe, and I am so safe. But also I'm doing this thing where I'm comparing my now to me 5 years down the road, and I'm seeing that huge chasm. And that is making me feel lack, as opposed to looking at what I already have, or even looking at where I came from and what I've created, right? Which is so much. And again, it's just a different point of focus and a different way to drop in. But that is what started to shift everything, because suddenly I felt full. Suddenly I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing. I have so much. I don't need anything anymore. Like, I don't feel desperate. I feel like I have so much overflow I can give to others. I also am seeing how far I've come. I have these clients. So I started showing up differently, right? I was taking the exact same strategy as before. And I've shared this in different live streams in different ways, but my strategy, I jumped from 5K months to 10K months pretty quickly. And after my first 10K cash month, my second month after that was a 24K cash month. That's a pretty big jump. And again, there is more than one factor, but my strategy was pretty consistent through that. I think the main factor for that has always been the mindset component, and this was a big part of that mindset component. And so when I say this changed everything, it really did start to change everything, because that same strategy I was taking, I started to show up for it differently. Then when I had a free call with someone or a sales call with someone, I was showing up differently, right? Instead of feeling desperate or giving that desperate, needy energy, which repels people, I was coming from a place of, how can I serve this person? Let's see if we're really a fit. I was coming from a place of, I don't need you, how can I instead serve your needs, right? And that started to change. And then of course that creates more clients, right? It started to change everything in my business. And so I'm going to give a couple examples here. I just want to give some practical examples in terms of my business. I made some notes so I wouldn't forget. This was the other thing I was going to say, just in terms of the mindset perspective, because we hear a lot about acting as if when it comes to manifesting, when it comes to mindset. And I think that sounds like faking it till you make it. I think it sounds really wackadoo. There's just a lot of concepts I think can feel really weird, but they don't make sense. What I really saw this practice and this shift, and you don't have to give things away for 30 days. Really, this is about how can you drop into gratitude for what you already have and the abundance you already have. What I started to notice is this helped me to start thinking like and showing up like the version of me who was running a fully booked business, the version of me who already had more money in the bank, the version of me who already felt super abundant, the version of me who was already making $25,000, $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 cash months. Because that version of me was someone who loves to serve, isn't going to take on a client who's not a fit just to try to make a quick buck, right? Isn't client hunting, really wants to do places, serve or like share content from a place of how can I give and take and help people. Yes, wants to make money, but wants to make money from a place of, because this feels really reciprocal and I've got more than enough. And so I'm taking this client on because I want to and because this is a good fit, not because I need to and I have to, right? That was the fully booked version of me. Well, feeling like I wasn't in scarcity, feeling like I already had enough and more than enough that I was still okay and I could get people these little things, and like suddenly I wasn't homeless, right? That I was actually safe and okay. It helped me to start acting like that future version of myself. And because I think a lot of times when we act like the future version of you, I think we think like, oh, well, that person would be booking first class tickets and buying Louis Vuitton purses. And so unless I can book a first class ticket and buy a Louis Vuitton purse, I'm not acting as if, and I can't be like that future version of me. But I think the future version of us it's usually what we're talking about is it's the energetic imprint of that person. So that all really started to shift things as well. But I think, and this is where I wanted to just give a couple of notes before I hop off. what I really think this also did is it just changed how I approached my lead generation, my marketing, and my sales. And I think, again, kind of what we were talking about earlier, strategy is important, action is important, but how you show up in your strategy, who you are being, how you are even choosing to look at the data and the feedback and to refine and to literally show up. That is the difference maker. I shared in my email list this week, I have a client who just got fully booked. She just had her first 10K month. She made, I think it was 11,700 in 2 days alone. And yes, we did a little work on her strategy, but one of the biggest things we focused on, she felt like she had kind of like lost the joy for her work and the industry and years in business. She's great at what she does, but like a bunch of different things that come into place. And like one of the things she's reflected to me so much is I feel like I'm just back. And I feel like I'm back. And we're calling it I'm back energy, but that energy has had her doing similar things, but from a very different energetic standpoint, which means people are responding in a very, very different way. But it also means she's open and receptive to noticing different opportunities, to having different downloads, to having different ideas, even for us to look at the coaching, like what we can look at and refine together. And so that's having her create really different results. That's what we're talking about here. And so when you're coming from a place of gratitude and a place of feeling full and abundant already, as opposed to I will feel full, grateful, and abundant when I make more money, when I have more clients, right? That very different place. It's really, really tough to run a business sustainably from that place of I just need more and more to be okay versus I am already okay. And that is why I'm able to hold more. Otherwise, we'll keep pushing it away. What I find is, again, going back to things like lead generation, the shift really does start to be less about I need to get a client, I need to make money, and more, how can I show up to serve and help someone get what it is they need? And that shift right there to me is the whole shift that changes everything in business. And so when I say this changed everything for me in business, being able to shift out of scarcity into that gratitude and abundant helped me to shift out of I need to book a client so that I can make money and be okay to I am okay, right? I am fine. I am safe. I'm okay. I would like more, but I'm okay. So instead, I can focus my energy on what does a potential client, what does my audience need from me? What does a potential client need from me? How can this be all about serving someone else's needs and helping someone else get their needs met? And by doing so, of course, the magic in business, what we're talking about with the give and take, when you're focused on serving someone else's needs, then that is what you get paid for. The money is a byproduct. You will continue to get paid. But it is very hard to focus on holding and serving someone else's needs. Now, personal relationships are different, right? Personal relationships, we really want that give and take, right? It is also about your needs. And of course, business is also about your needs. But when we're talking about client-customer relationships, at the end of the day, we exist as businesses to serve someone else's needs, right? To solve a problem, to help them get a result desired. Like, it kind of doesn't matter that we're feeling scarce. It kind of doesn't matter that we need to make money. It kind of doesn't matter what we want. It kind of doesn't matter that we feel good. It does as a business owner, that's what's going to help you operate. If you're my client, I care that you feel good, right? Like that's going to change how you show up. But from a marketing and sales perspective, if you're a potential client, what you care about is this going to get my needs met? Is this going to give me what I need? Is this going to solve my problem? Which again, from the service provider side is really tough for us to go out and market in that way, as from the energetic side, but also from the really practical strategic side, to serve and to hold clients and to serve customers when we're coming from the place of what we need versus what someone else's needs. And so really that's what I saw as a shift, and let me know if that's making sense, or if you want a specific example, or if you just need clarity around that. I always want to make sure, because I feel like it's more like a broad concept, so I want to make sure this is landing for everyone. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to assume it's landing. What I really saw there is, again, I used the term client hunting earlier. I don't know that I was ever coming from a client hunting place, but I do think that I was coming from a place before of I need to book clients. I need to make money, right? Like, if anything, I think I didn't feel good enough, right? And I wanted clients so that they would make me, like if I booked a client, that meant proof that I was good enough as a coach, right? Like that's a form of scarcity as well. Sometimes we're financially scarce. Sometimes we're confidence scarce. Or we're enoughness, we have scarcity with our enoughness. And so when we're coming, that's still a neediness, right? When I think about acting, I may not have needed an acting job to make money, but I needed it to feel like I was a good actress. If I was coming from that place, that is still that neediness. That is still about what does Kim need as an actress? What does Kim need as a business owner? What does Kim need as a coach? That is asking our potential clients in our business to caretake us, right? To fulfill us. And so then we do end up client hunting or job hunting, right? Or audition hunting, right? We're hunting to meet our personal needs. And again, people don't like to be hunted. Clients don't like to be hunted, right? Like that is something that will just repel people over and over again, as opposed to, I already know I'm good enough. I already know I have enough money, right? I already know that yes, of course I would like more, but like that I am in a place where I have enough to give someone else. I have enough overflow to give that I can show up and serve. Again, I feel like I'm like saying the same thing over and over again, but that when you can come from that place, people feel the difference. And so then when you're doing lead generation, when you're offering a consultation, when you're offering a free coaching call, when you're offering a free masterclass, when you're offering a free challenge, when you're offering a freebie, and it's coming from this is how I can meet your needs. This is how I can help you. This is how I can be of service. Even if you don't hire me, that's cool because I know I've got enough, right? Or there's someone else that will. Think of how different that feels on the receiving end. Think of how differently you'll even think about the type of marketing you'll put out, the people you'll reach out to, the masterclass you offer, the free call you offer, whatever these things are that you offer. It really changes so much of your lead generation. It changes your marketing strategy. It changes how people feel receiving that. And it really changes sales. One of the things I really think about with sales, and we've probably talked about this here. Oh, and Bethany, I want to read your comment in a second. Well, actually, let me read your comment first, and then I'll just make a mental note because I want to come back to the sales part. Bethany says, hi, Kim, do you have thoughts on having success, 30K months, great client success, and then losing it, like the rubber band snaps back? I go back into scarcity. Kate says, I'm just tuning in. We'll catch the start out of this, but loving what I'm hearing so far. I'm so glad, Kate. I feel like this will be your type of conversation. Bethany, if you're open to sharing more, you don't have to, but if you're open to sharing more, I'd be interested to hear more. What I would say, just as a general thought from what I'm hearing you say in terms of what Bethany's asking is generally like creating a big amount of success, like a 30K month, and then like in air quotes losing it, like it's snapping back. I think, and again, without knowing more details and without having like more details, there's a couple thoughts that come up. I think there's, for a lot of us, I think success and holding more can be, even though it's what we say we want for our nervous system, it is past our comfort level, right? And what is familiar. And I think this is a really common thing for a lot of business owners. I talk a lot about upper limiting and fear of success. And this is the work I do with a lot of my clients as they're scaling. We think making more money will just feel great and feel amazing. And the truth is, for a lot of us, it feels very confronting. And it is actually, I think, the harder work for a lot of people is learning how to hold and sustain success without pushing it away, because again, it doesn't feel familiar. Maybe it means you have more responsibility. Maybe you feel you don't deserve it. Maybe you feel like, oh my gosh, now everybody's looking at me and this comes with a lot of baggage, or people are going to hate me, or there can be a lot that comes with creating big results. And so for a lot of people, what will often happen is subconsciously it won't feel safe, right? When we're talking about scarcity, like, and this is why it's never really about the money. So if you have scarcity when you don't have money, right, there's probably some safety fear things coming up. Then when we do have a lot, right, the same thing, just kind of on the other side of the spectrum, will get kicked up. And so a lot of times what will happen for clients is if we haven't integrated this or created safety around this, right, this is sort of, money just amplifies what's already there. It's just going to highlight the opportunities for us. These are all just opportunities. These are normal things, but opportunities for places to heal or to create safety or to integrate. And so I find that happens a lot. And then I think there's also just a practical element of how do we create the result and what is the business setup? So, if you have a launch model and you have a big 30K month, it's actually normal. Then if you're not launching the next month, to not have a 30K month. Or if you manifested 30K and you didn't have a sustainable strategy, right, then that could be the reason. Or I know for other clients, they then suddenly have 30K worth of delivery. So they're focused on client delivery and they stop focusing on marketing. And so then their pipeline is drying up, right? And so then we don't have something to continue to get the results. So I think there can be both the mindset energetic or just the practical component, and usually it's an intersection of both. Bethany thought, I got burnt out. It was outside my comfort zone. I had guilt making that much. I felt empty at times. I didn't know how to hold and sustain it. just seeing you in that, Bethany. I'm just like so seeing you in that. I think it is more common than people. I cannot tell you how many clients I might have gone through this. So just to say that you're definitely not the only person who's experienced that, but also to see you in that. And I just so appreciate you sharing that, because I know there's going to be other people watching this live stream on the replay who are like, I thought I was the only one. I think this is probably the more common like dark side. I'm going to see if I can find a live stream. I did a live stream on the dark side of business a year or two ago. I'm going to see if I can find it and link it in here afterwards. But this is the dark side of success I think people don't talk about. And dark side in terms of the shadow side, in terms of we don't talk about this a lot. And so then I think people feel like there's something wrong with them or bad, as opposed to this is just our brains are wired for survival. Our brains are wired to keep us safe and in familiar comfort zones. They are not wired for lots of money, lots of success. And so if we're burnt out, first of all, then what I hear here is your brain is just really good at keeping you safe, and this is a coping mechanism, right? If it got rid of the 30K, it's probably more that you were burnt out and it was like, this is the best way we know how to take care of you. So I would just say congratulations for having a really, really great, well-working brain. That's super normal. And I think what we just don't talk a lot about is on the flip side of that, there's, I think, a lot that comes up for people around we are not wired for success. If we're wired for survival, we're wired to fit in. We're wired to want to do things that keep us safe. Well, making a lot of money, right? Like that can come with feeling like I'm guilty. I'm the only one. I shouldn't have this. All of these things that make us separate from others, that don't feel safe to our nervous system. So just to say like this is all quite normal. It makes sense. And then this becomes a thing where we want to look at how do we create safety to see that you can sustain results without burning out, but also how do we start to integrate and normalize some of the guilt and the fear that's coming up, so that you can titrate basically and hold more of that. Anyway, I just really, really, really appreciate you sharing that, Bethany. And feel free if there's anything else coming up you want us to touch on. I'm going to circle back to, I was talking about the sales part of this, and I'm going to see if I can remember my thought with where our original conversation was. But Bethany, I feel like this was more valuable than whatever I was going to say for everybody to hear, to have that conversation. I know what I was going to say. So going back to our original conversation and just talking about, doing this experiment and coming to this place of coming and really lead generation, marketing, sales from more of this whole place and this abundant place and this place of, not that I don't have needs, but I'm not coming from a place of what does Kim need, and it's more what does this person in front of me need. What I have found is when it comes to sales, and I think I talk about this in different ways, but I have found how powerful and how much of sales really is. It is really all about how do we help the person in front of us get clear on what it is they need and support them to make that decision to move towards that, which is tough when we're just thinking about what we need, right? It's really tough, especially if you're having sales conversations, to listen to someone and to hear the words underneath the words someone is telling you if all you're thinking about is what you need. So just from a strategic standpoint. But what I've also just found, and what I coach my clients around, if this is helpful for everyone to hear, is I really think about the difference between lean back and lean in energy when it comes to sales, and how we need a combination of both. Meaning, when I'm on a sales conversation or when I'm having a masterclass in selling, I want to be in my power, which is tough to do when I'm feeling needy and desperate. And I want to know, where am I going to lean in to the conversation to make an offer, to sell, to let someone know, hey, I've got you. This is what I can help you with. I am so confident in my work. I am so confident in my ability. I am so confident in the way I'm able to support clients and the way, this is a fit, or that this is what I can walk you through, that I can lean in and talk about this. Or that if, you're feeling insecure, you have an objection, that I feel really confident and grounded and in my power because I'm not needy, right? Because I'm not feeling desperate, that I can lean into that. And I also want to feel so centered, and it's really tough to feel centered and grounded and in our power when we're in that neediness, that I also know when to lean back. And leaning back is meaning it's also coming from that place of, and I'm giving you all the space in the room and the world to make your own decision. I don't need to push you. I don't need to try to manipulate you. I don't need to try to do anything to convince you. I can just lean back and be a little bit like, yeah, I'm here if you want to hear more. If it's not you, it's going to be another client. I don't need you as a client. I would love you as a client, right? I would love to support you. I know I can support you, but I don't need anything here. This is all about your needs. And that is being just that more open, lean back, receptive energy. And we really need to know how to have both in sales conversations, I think. And I think that's just what really blows up your business. And I find it's really tough to trust yourself, to have that dance of lean in, lean back, right? To both lean into, I want to work with you, and I can support you, and I'm confident I'm going to make this pitch and I'm going to make this sell, and also be able to lean back, kind of because it's not caring, it's leaning backwards, it's to more, I get more detached. It's tough to have that dance when we are feeling really scarce, when we're not feeling abundant, when we are feeling super needy, when we're feeling not good enough, because again, we are then jacked around the axle or wrapped around the axle of our needs. And as soon as we're in that place, right, you can't lean back, right? And when you're leaning forward, you're not leaning forward from power or groundedness, we're leaning then forward from it's chasing, it's hunting, right? It's a different energy there. And so that's really the place I also saw such a big difference. And so when I say this experiment changed everything for me, yes, it was a very simple experiment. You don't have to do the experiment. It's really what this experiment helped me to drop into and to realize is what changed everything for me. And I think it's being able to find those places for yourself. Again, it's not the only end all be all in business, and that is not what this conversation is. But I think when we can start to notice these places where we're feeling super needy, where we're feeling in lack, where we're feeling desperate, where we're chasing, and start to do the work to shift that, to come to groundedness, stepping into our power, feeling like we can be of service and still have our needs met, obviously, but right, if we're focused on service versus what we personally need in the business, and coming from that lean back place, from a place of power, I really do think, or I found that for myself, and I've seen that for so many clients, that just starts to shift everything. And you can be taking the same strategy, but the way in which you show up in that strategy, the word choice you use, what you say in your content, how you say something on a live stream or on a sales call, right? What you say to someone to follow up, all of that starts to change, and that's what blows up your results. I want to see what Bethany, Laura says. Hi, joining you for a few minutes while making lunch. We'll come back for the rest. Such a great conversation. Love you, Laura. Bethany says, thank you, Kim, for your thoughts and showing up and inspire me. We'll come back for the rest of the replays. Thank you so much for being here and for all of that. I think that's our conversation, y'all. I know this was, Thanksgiving themed, but I think this is also a bigger conversation that is year round. And I hope this gives all of you some thoughts to play with and to see that, yes, of course, strategy matters. I am team strategy all the way. I am team look at data and figure out what we need to refine all the way. I am team action all of the way. And for us to also see when we're doing those things and we're doing all of the right things, sometimes the biggest needle mover for us, sometimes the gas we want to pour on that strategy and action, or I would not say sometimes, always, comes back to the mindset, the energetics, how we're thinking, how we're being. And again, when we're feeling that scarcity, when we're feeling that lack, when we're feeling that insecurity, when we're feeling that neediness, that's not to make you wrong, but that will just always make things harder. And that is not to create a story. That is just maybe to help give explanation to if things are feeling hard from you, or if you're feeling like Bethany was talking about, where like you have a big month and then it seems to all go away. This can help you to understand why, because I think the biggest gift we can give ourselves as business owners is one of the gifts I give my clients is not that we can always avoid bad thing from, bad in air quotes thing from happening in business, or that we can always guarantee we're going to get clients, that we can always guarantee we're never going to lose money. But the biggest gift you can give yourself, or that as a coach you can give to your clients, I think, is when something happens, understanding why that happened and what the right problem to solve or address is. And so when we start to understand these things, then if we're having a hard time booking clients or sustaining clients in our business, or we feel like we have big wins and they go away, when we can see, oh, well, maybe this is why, right? Then we know the mindset work, then we know the energy work, then we know the healing to do, as opposed to, I think it's really easy otherwise to lose ourselves for a year online chasing 400 different strategies that were never actually the problem to solve. So, this is an ongoing journey for all of us, but I hope this gives you some insights and just some places to play if this is where you find yourself at. Kate says, this is one of my favorite conversations. Love it so much. Oh, Kate, thank you for saying that. I almost didn't go live today because I didn't know if anybody would want a conversation before Thanksgiving here in the US. So thank you for saying that, Kate. So glad. So glad to hear that. With that, for those of you in the US, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, again, I want to honor, I know there are very valid reasons. Many people do not celebrate Thanksgiving in the US. So also honoring and respecting that reason very much. And for those of you who do celebrate, happy Thanksgiving. And for all of you, whether you celebrate Thanksgiving or not, for me, this is a week and a time to remember even more how much we have and how much abundance, overflow, how much there is to be grateful for, whether or not we're feeling that in the moment. So I would just love to take a moment to say thank you to all of you. I love you all so much. Having this group, being able to have these conversations, the fact that you show up live on the replays, that you share your thoughts, that you're willing to trust me, that you leave comments, that some of you I have the joy of working with, but that I get to do my life's work and get to share it with you and get to be of service. Being of service is something that also gives so much back to me, even if you never hire me. It generally, it sincerely, I should say, genuinely is the word I was looking for, means the world to me, and I'm so, so, so grateful for all of you. So I will try not to be maudlin, because if you're a client of mine, you know that I can have you cry, but I do want to take a moment to say that. So thank you all so much for being here. I love you all so much. Again, keep an eye out. I do not have a Black Friday offer for you, but on Saturday, there will be a session giveaway for my birthday, giving away one. So we'll keep that open for a couple days. Look out for that. It's open to everyone, clients, non-clients, past clients, everybody's welcome to enter. And then if you are interested in working together, we are actively taking consultations for some spots opening up. They will go very quickly. I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I just know who is already interested in the spots and the limited availability I have. So if you're at all interested, I would love to connect with you, even if it's for a future spot. Please take me up on one of those calls. They're completely free. I would love to see if it's a fit to support you in 2025. All right, I love you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.